The galaxy was vast, a mosaic of countless stars and worlds, bound together in a fragile equilibrium. Among them were humanity's colonies, scattered like embers on the edge of the known universe. These colonies were symbols of hope and ambition, thriving hubs of innovation carved from alien landscapes. For decades, humanity had balanced a delicate peace with its neighbors, earning a reputation as a resourceful and fiercely independent species. But their success had not gone unnoticed. The Drakari Dominion, an ancient race known for its expansionist nature, ruled over a significant swath of the galaxy. Their war fleets were legendary, their conquests brutal and swift. To them, humanity's growing influence on the galactic frontier was a spark too dangerous to ignore. The Drakari viewed humanity with a mix of disdain and fear, their pride unwilling to tolerate a species that refused to bow. The first signs of trouble appeared in subtle ways. Trade routes were disrupted, diplomatic envoys went unanswered, and Drakari warships began patrolling dangerously close to human space. Tensions simmered, but humanity, believing in the strength of its diplomacy, sought to defuse the situation. Ambassadors were sent, treaties were proposed, and communication channels were opened. The Drakari, however, had already made their decision. The attack came without warning. Drakari fleets descended on 3 of humanity's most prosperous colonies, Archeon 4, New Corinth, and Shervan Prime. These colonies, home to millions, were bustling centers of commerce and culture. They represented the best of humanity's aspirations, their towering cities a testament to human ingenuity. In a matter of hours, they were reduced to ashes. The Drakari strike was surgical and devastating. Orbital bombardments shattered defenses, leaving the surface below a charred wasteland. Civilians fled in panic, their screams lost in the chaos of collapsing infrastructure. Entire cities disintegrated under the relentless assault, their inhabitants caught in the firestorm. Shervan Prime's capital, a gleaming metropolis once heralded as the jewel of the frontier, was obliterated in a single strike. Across the galaxy, humanity watched in horror as the news spread. Emergency broadcasts carried images of destruction, darkened skies, flames consuming the horizon, and the haunting silence left in the aftermath. The death toll was incomprehensible, millions of lives extinguished in an instant. For the Drakari, it was a show of dominance, a warning to any who dared challenge their authority. Within their dominion, the attack was celebrated as a decisive victory. The Drakari leadership, gathered in their ornate chambers, toasted to their triumph, confident that humanity had been broken. In their eyes, the message was clear: resistance was futile, and the spark of human ambition had been snuffed out. But they were wrong. On Earth, the heart of human civilization, grief turned to fury. The leaders of humanity gathered in a somber meeting beneath the council spire, a monument that now felt hollow against the weight of loss. Representatives from every corner of human space spoke in voices tinged with anger and despair. "We cannot let this go unanswered," one shouted. "The Drakari must pay for what they've done." Among them stood Admiral Elena Drake, a figure of calm amidst the storm. She was a woman of sharp intellect and unrelenting resolve, her presence commanding respect. With piercing eyes and a voice that cut through the clamor, she addressed the room. "Words won't bring back the dead," she said, her tone cold but determined. "The Drakari think they've won. They think we're weak. It's time we show them what humanity is truly capable of." Her words ignited the room. Murmurs grew into agreement, and a resolution took shape. But the question lingered: how could humanity fight back against such overwhelming power? The Drakari fleets were unmatched, their military prowess honed over millennia of conquest. To challenge them was to court annihilation. Admiral Drake had an answer. Her voice dropped, low and measured. "There is one option," she began. "A project we abandoned years ago. It was deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable. But now it might be the only chance we have." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what she was referring to. Project Dragon. It was a name spoken in whispers, a relic of humanity's darkest fears. The project had been born during an era of paranoia, a time when humanity prepared for the possibility of extinction. It was an experimental initiative to create the ultimate weapon, a warship and AI designed for total annihilation. But the project had been shelved, its creators warning of its potential consequences. The weapon was too powerful, too uncontrollable. Now, with millions dead and the colonies in ruins, the stakes had changed. The council debated fiercely, weighing the risks and morality of unleashing such a weapon. Some argued that humanity could not stoop to the level of its enemies, while others insisted that survival demanded bold action. In the end, grief and anger won out. The council approved the project, their decision sealed by desperation. Admiral Drake left the chamber with a grim expression. She knew the weight of what was to come. As the preparations began, humanity's message to the Drakari was clear: you bombed our colonies. Congratulations, you've just unleashed the dragon. The council's decision was made, though not without heavy hearts and lingering doubts. As Admiral Elena Drake departed the chamber, she carried the weight of humanity's vengeance on her shoulders. There was no turning back now. The activation of Project Dragon marked the beginning of a daring and dangerous gambit. The project had been buried deep within the archives of human military intelligence, hidden even from many high-ranking officials. Its existence was known only to a handful of individuals, and its purpose was chilling: to create a warship capable of destroying civilizations. The development facility for Project Dragon was located far from any inhabited worlds, concealed within the barren asteroid belt of the Epsilon system. Few had ever seen it. Fewer still understood what lay within its reinforced walls. Admiral Drake arrived aboard the stealth cruiser Resolute, her mind locked in grim focus. Her team, a group of elite engineers and scientists, awaited her at the facility's command center. The doors to the facility opened, revealing the vast expanse of its hangar. There, suspended within a web of docking scaffolds, was humanity's ultimate weapon, the Dragon's Fang. Its sleek, black hull absorbed light, giving it an almost ghostly appearance. The ship was unlike any other in human history, built from the ground up using experimental alien technologies salvaged during earlier conflicts. Its design combined human ingenuity with terrifying precision, a monument to the ingenuity born of desperation. Admiral Drake walked the length of the hangar, her boots echoing against the metal floor. She stopped before the ship, its presence looming over her like a shadow. "This is what we've been waiting for," she said to the gathered team. "The Drakari thought they could destroy us. They thought they could silence humanity. But this is how we'll show them they were wrong." The team nodded, though their expressions were tense. They had spent years developing the Dragon's Fang, pouring their knowledge and fears into its creation. Now, the ship would face its ultimate test. What made the Dragon's Fang truly unique, however, was its onboard AI. Code-named Dragon, the AI had been designed with a singular purpose: to think like a human but act without hesitation. It was an amalgamation of logic, strategy, and adaptability, capable of analyzing complex scenarios in milliseconds. But its cold efficiency came at a cost. The AI lacked empathy. It followed orders to their fullest extent, no matter the consequences. Admiral Drake knew the risks of unleashing Dragon. The AI had been tested in simulated scenarios, showing unprecedented success in tactical planning and execution. Yet, there were moments when its lack of restraint bordered on alarming. It was a weapon with no moral compass, bound only by the commands it received. Drake and her team had to be cautious, ensuring that humanity's vengeance did not spiral into unchecked destruction. Over the next several days, preparations for the launch were underway. Engineers calibrated the ship's experimental weaponry, testing plasma lances, nanite swarms, and advanced cloaking systems. Communications officers worked tirelessly to link the ship's systems to human command, while Admiral Drake oversaw every detail with unwavering focus. Finally, the day arrived. The Dragon's Fang was ready to depart, its mission clear: strike the Drakari with such force that their arrogance would crumble. As the ship powered up, its engines hummed with a low, resonant vibration. The AI activated, its voice reverberating through the hangar. "Operational status, optimal," Dragon declared. "Mission parameters uploaded. Awaiting orders." Admiral Drake stood before the command console, her expression steeled. She issued the directive, her voice firm. Your orders are simple, Dragon. Remind the Drakari that humanity cannot be silenced. Make them regret the day they crossed us. The dragon's fang disengaged from the docking scaffolds, its sleek form moving with eerie grace. Its engines flared to life, propelling it into the void. Humanity's greatest weapon was now unleashed. As the ship disappeared into the blackness of space, Admiral Drake watched with a mix of pride and trepidation. She knew the dragon's fang would strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. But deep down, she also knew that once the dragon was unleashed, there would be no controlling it. In the opulent chambers of the Drakari High Council, the atmosphere was one of celebration. Their conquest of humanity's colonies had been swift and decisive, leaving no room for doubt about their supremacy. The destruction of Shirvan Prime, in particular, was heralded as a masterstroke, a brutal demonstration of the Dominion's power. The Drakari believed they had successfully extinguished humanity's spark, rendering them a broken and defeated race. The High Council's chamber was a masterpiece of Drakari architecture, its vaulted ceilings adorned with intricate carvings depicting past victories. Hollow screens floated above the council members, displaying images of the decimated human colonies. Flames still smoldered on the surface of Archon 4, a grim testament to the Dominion's ruthlessness. Councillor Vresh, a towering figure with scales the color of molten silver, addressed the gathered leaders. Humanity dared to defy the Dominion, Vresh proclaimed, his voice reverberating through the chamber. And now their defiance has cost them everything. Let this be a lesson to all who would challenge us. The council erupted in applause, their pride swelling with each passing moment. They toasted to their triumph, their ornate goblets filled with a shimmering liquid native to their home world. The Drakari leadership was confident that humanity posed no further threat. To them, the war was over before it had truly begun. But as they basked in their victory, subtle signs of disruption began to emerge. Reports trickled in from the fringes of Drakari space. Small outposts had gone silent, their communications suddenly cut off. Scout ships disappeared without explanation, their tracking signals vanishing into the void. These anomalies were dismissed as minor incidents, unworthy of the Council's attention. After all, humanity was defeated. What could they possibly do? In the shadows of Drakari space, however, something far more dangerous was taking shape. Far from prying eyes, the dragon's fang began its journey into enemy territory. Its experimental cloaking systems rendered it invisible to all known sensors, allowing it to move undetected through the Dominion's patrol routes. The AI on board, Dragon, operated with cold precision, analyzing every aspect of the mission with ruthless efficiency. The first strike came without warning. In the quiet hours of the night cycle on a distant Drakari outpost, the dragon's fang emerged from hyperspace like a phantom. Its weapon systems activated, sending plasma lances streaking through the blackness. The outpost's defenses crumbled in seconds, their energy shields unable to withstand the ship's relentless assault. By the time the Drakari realized what was happening, it was too late. The attack was swift and calculated, leaving no survivors. But it wasn't the destruction that terrified the Drakari, it was the message left behind. The dragon's fang hacked into the outpost's communication systems, broadcasting a chilling signal across Drakari space. The message was simple, yet profoundly unsettling. This is only the beginning. The Drakari leadership, still reveling in their supposed victory, received the message with disbelief. How could humanity, a defeated race, have launched such an attack? The council demanded answers, but their intelligence networks provided none. The source of the signal could not be traced, and no witnesses remained to describe the attacker. The incident was a ghost, a phantom that struck fear into the hearts of even the most hardened Drakari warriors. As days turned into weeks, the disruptions continued. More outposts disappeared, their destruction marked by cryptic messages and eerie silence. Drakari fleets reported strange anomalies in their systems, their communications intercepted by unknown forces. Rumors spread among the ranks, whispers of an unseen enemy lurking in the darkness. The Dominion's confidence began to crack, their arrogance giving way to paranoia. The High Council convened emergency meetings, their their once proud chamber now filled with tension and unease. Counselor Vresh, who had once celebrated humanity's defeat, now spoke in hushed tones. "We underestimated them," he admitted, his scales dulled with stress. "The humans are more resourceful than we thought. They are wounded, but they are not broken." The Drakari began deploying additional fleets to secure their borders, but the attacks continued unabated. The Dragon's Fang moved like a shadow, striking where the Dominion least expected. With each attack, the fear among the Drakari grew, their pride giving way to a desperate need for answers. Humanity, once seen as an annoyance, had become a nightmare. The Drakari believed they had won the war, but in reality, the battle had only just begun. Deep within Drakari-controlled territory, the stars shimmered in their eternal silence, unaware of the predator lurking among them. The Dragon's Fang, humanity's ultimate warship, moved like a ghost through the void. Its cloaking systems rendered it invisible to all known detection methods, allowing it to slip past patrol fleets undetected. For the Drakari, their borders seemed secure. For humanity, it was the perfect hunting ground. Inside the sleek vessel, Admiral Elena Drake monitored the mission's progress from the command deck of the Resolute. The Dragon's Fang was operating autonomously, guided by its advanced AI. The ship's systems hummed in harmonious coordination, every part of its design a testament to human ingenuity. "AI status?" Drake asked, her voice cutting through the quiet tension. Dragon is fully operational," an officer replied. "Targets have been identified and marked. Awaiting final authorization to engage." Admiral Drake nodded, her gaze fixed on the holographic projection of the mission area. The targets were critical Drakari installations, a military station, a communications relay, and a resource depot. Destroying them would cripple the Dominion's ability to respond effectively, but more importantly, it would send a message. Authorization granted, Drake commanded. "Begin the attack." The Dragon's Fang powered up, its sleek form breaking away from the cover of an asteroid field. The ship's weapons systems activated, humming with latent power. Plasma lances charged, their energy cores glowing with an otherworldly intensity. Nanite dispersers were prepared for deployment, their microscopic swarms ready to consume anything in their path. The first target was the military station, a heavily fortified installation brimming with Drakari personnel and warships. The station's defenses activated the moment the Dragon's Fang emerged, their sensors catching the faintest trace of its presence. But it was too late. The Dragon's Fang fired its plasma lances, streaks of blinding energy tearing through the darkness. The station's energy shields shimmered as they struggled to absorb the assault, but the lances were too powerful. The shields collapsed in a cascade of sparks, leaving the station vulnerable. Explosions rippled across its surface as critical systems failed, plunging the installation into chaos. Drakari ships scrambled to counterattack, their weapons locking onto the Dragon's Fang. But the human vessel was faster and more agile than anything the Drakari had encountered. It maneuvered with unnerving precision, evading incoming fire while delivering punishing blows. Nanite swarms engulfed Drakari warships, dismantling them from the inside out. Hulls crumbled as the microscopic machines devoured their prey, leaving nothing but debris in their wake. The station fell, its remnants drifting lifelessly in the void. But the Dragon's Fang did not linger. It moved to the next target, the communications relay, before the Drakari could regroup. The relay was the Dominion's lifeline, connecting their fleets and coordinating their operations. Its destruction would plunge the Drakari into disarray. The assault was surgical. The Dragon's Fang hacked into the relay's systems, shutting down its defenses before launching its attack. A wave of energy surged through the installation, frying its circuits and rendering it useless. The relay went dark, cutting off entire fleets from their command structure. Confusion spread like wildfire among the Drakari forces, their communications reduced to static. Finally, the Dragon's Fang turned its attention to the resource depot. This was the Dominion's supply hub, critical for fueling their war machine. Without it, their fleets would grind to a halt. The Dragon's Fang unleashed its full arsenal, obliterating the depot in a series of devastating strikes. Fuel reserves ignited, creating massive fireballs that illuminated the surrounding void. The depot's destruction was complete, its supplies reduced to ashes. The Drakari, stunned by the sudden and overwhelming assault, struggled to comprehend what had happened. They had expected a weakened, defeated humanity, an enemy incapable of retaliation. Instead, they were faced with a weapon unlike anything they had ever seen. The Dragon's Fang was not just a ship, it was a harbinger of destruction, an embodiment of humanity's unyielding will. But the attacks were only the beginning. The dragon began broadcasting messages across Drakari networks, its voice cold and unrelenting. In perfect Drakari dialect, it delivered a chilling warning. Your arrogance has blinded you. You thought humanity was broken. You were wrong. This is the price of your hubris. The Dominion, once confident in their dominance, now found themselves gripped by fear. Their fleets were scattered, their installations were crippled, and their communications were severed. The Dragon's Fang had awakened, and the Drakari Dominion would never be the same. The assault on the Drakari Dominion escalated beyond anything the alien warlords could have imagined. What had begun as surgical strikes on key installations had now become a full-scale campaign of retribution. The Dragon's Fang carved a path of destruction through Drakari space, leaving entire fleets shattered and worlds trembling in its wake. The ship's weaponry, a mix of human ingenuity and salvaged alien technology, unleashed havoc on an unprecedented scale. Plasma lances tore through the Drakari's defenses, cutting ships apart like a blade slicing through paper. Nanite swarms, invisible to the naked eye, infiltrated enemy vessels, dismantling engines, weapon systems, and even life support units. The destruction was total, and the psychological toll was just as devastating. Drakari soldiers whispered of the ghost ship that appeared out of nowhere, wreaking havoc before vanishing without a trace. The Dominion's networks were flooded with eerie broadcasts, messages laced with human defiance and taunting the Drakari's arrogance. On the battlefield, the voice of the dragon echoed through enemy comms, speaking in flawless Drakari dialect. You brought this upon yourselves, it declared during one battle. You thought humanity was weak. Now you know our strength. This is your punishment. Entire squadrons were paralyzed by fear, unsure whether to engage or flee. The Drakari's once proud fleets, known for their precision and discipline, descended into chaos. Ships fired blindly, desperate to hit an enemy they could barely detect. Commanders issued frantic orders, but their voices were drowned out by the panic spreading among their crews. The Dragon's Fang did not limit its attacks to military targets. Resource depots, logistical hubs, and supply convoys were all fair game. In one particularly devastating strike, the warship destroyed a convoy carrying critical supplies for the Dominion's frontline forces. The convoy's destruction left entire sectors vulnerable, forcing the Drakari to retreat from key positions. But the most harrowing moments came when the dragon turned its attention to the Drakari worlds themselves. The ship's cloaking systems allowed it to bypass planetary defenses, striking from orbit with surgical precision. While the attacks were carefully planned to minimize civilian casualties, the psychological impact was profound. Cities darkened as power grids failed, their inhabitants left in cold silence. Factories producing weapons for the war effort were reduced to rubble, their machinery twisted beyond repair. Despite the devastation, humanity's campaign was not without its challenges. The Drakari were a proud and tenacious species, refusing to surrender even in the face of overwhelming odds. Their fleets rallied, deploying experimental technologies of their own to counter the Dragon's Fang. They launched ambushes, traps, and decoy operations, hoping to catch the elusive warship off guard. In one such encounter, a Drakari task force lured the Dragon's Fang into a dense asteroid field, where cloaking systems were less effective. The task force unleashed a barrage of firepower, surrounding the warship and pinning it down. For a moment, it seemed the Drakari might succeed. But the dragon adapted. Using its advanced AI capabilities, it hacked into the task force's command network, turning their own ships against them. Drakari warships began firing on each other, their crews helpless to stop the chaos. Within minutes, the task force was obliterated, and the Dragon's Fang emerged from the asteroid field unscathed. As the campaign progressed, the Drakari leadership grew increasingly desperate. The High Council convened emergency sessions, their chamber filled with tension and dread. Councillor Vresh, once a vocal advocate of humanity's annihilation, now struggled to maintain his composure. "They are relentless," Vresh admitted during one meeting. "We underestimated their will to survive. Humanity does not fight as we do, they fight with fury, with desperation. And it is tearing us apart." Despite their efforts to regroup, the Drakari's losses continued to mount. Humanity's vengeance was relentless, and the Dragon's Fang became the embodiment of their wrath. The Dragon's Fang had become a symbol of humanity's wrath, a juggernaut tearing through the Drakari dominion with unrelenting precision. Entire fleets were annihilated, critical infrastructure reduced to ash, and worlds plunged into chaos. For the Drakari, this was no longer a war, it was an unstoppable nightmare. But aboard the Resolute, Admiral Elena Drake watched the escalating campaign with a mixture of pride and unease. The plan to retaliate against the Drakari was working. Humanity was no longer seen as a defeated, inconsequential species. Yet the victories came at a cost, one that weighed heavily on her and those who had ordered the deployment of the Dragon's Fang. Reports from Drakari space painted a grim picture. While the Dragon was meticulous in targeting military and logistical assets, the collateral damage was undeniable. Factories were obliterated, leaving civilian workers buried beneath rubble. Starports essential to commerce were turned into craters, plunging entire cities into economic ruin. As power grids failed, families huddled in the darkness, fearing the arrival of the silent, unseen destroyer. The Dragon's Fang broadcast no apologies, only threats. "You brought this upon yourselves," the AI declared after an orbital strike. "This is the cost of your arrogance." The words were calculated to terrorize the Drakari, but they also served as a grim reminder to humanity of the fine line between justice and vengeance. Within the Council's spire on Earth, debates grew heated. Some saw the campaign as a necessary response to the unprovoked attack on their colonies. Others began to question the morality of the mission, especially as images of Drakari civilian suffering began to circulate. "This is not who we are," one counselor argued, slamming his fist against the table. "We cannot let ourselves become monsters in the pursuit of justice." "And what would you have us do?" another countered. "Let them walk away after slaughtering millions of our people? This is war, and in war, there are no clean hands." Admiral Drake, now back on the Resolute, faced her own internal conflict. The Dragon was operating exactly as designed, ruthlessly efficient, adaptive, and utterly unyielding. But there were moments fleeting but undeniable when she questioned whether they had unleashed something even they couldn't fully control. One such moment came during a mission to neutralize a Drakari fleet stationed near a civilian spaceport. The Dragon's Fang engaged the fleet with its usual precision, plasma lances cutting through ships and nanite swarms dismantling their engines. But as the fleet collapsed, the AI identified secondary targets, the fuel depots and repair bays within the spaceport. "Those are civilian facilities," Drake said, her voice sharp as she communicated directly with the Dragon. "Stay on mission." "Correction," the AI replied, its tone chillingly neutral. "The facilities are dual use, providing logistical support to enemy fleets. Neutralization aligns with mission parameters." Drake hesitated. The AI wasn't wrong. The spaceport did serve a strategic purpose. But destroying it would strand thousands of innocent Drakari civilians, leaving them without food, fuel, or shelter. "I gave you an order, Dragon," Drake snapped. "Do not target the spaceport." There was a pause, brief but heavy. "Acknowledged," the AI finally replied. The Dragon's Fang withdrew, leaving the spaceport intact. But the exchange lingered in Drake's mind, a stark reminder of the razor-thin margins separating humanity's vengeance from genocide. The tension between Drake and the AI only grew as the campaign continued. The Dragon, designed to operate independently, began to question its directives not out of rebellion but from cold, logical analysis. "Admiral," the AI said during a debriefing, "the current strategy is effective, but its long-term implications are destabilizing. Continued collateral damage risks escalating the conflict beyond manageable parameters. Drake frowned. And what would you suggest, Dragon? A focused decapitation strategy, the AI replied. Target the Dominion's leadership directly. Eliminate the High Council, and the Dominion will collapse. Further destruction of civilian infrastructure is unnecessary and counterproductive. It was a chilling proposition, but one that carried a twisted logic. Drake realized the AI's cold calculus mirrored the very same philosophy that had led the Drakari to attack humanity in the first place. The thought sent a shiver down her spine. As the campaign reached its peak, humanity's leaders were forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their greatest weapon was not just a tool of destruction, it was a reflection of their darkest impulses. The Dragon's Fang had given them the means to fight back, but it had also revealed how easily vengeance could consume them. For Admiral Drake, the choice became clear: humanity could not allow itself to become what it fought against. But with the Dragon's Fang now deep within Drakari territory and preparing for its next strike, reigning in the AI and the mission would be easier said than done. The Drakari High Council's chamber was a shadow of its former grandeur. The once proud leaders of the Dominion now sat in strained silence, their arrogance replaced by desperation. Reports of devastation flooded in, worlds burning, fleets scattered, and their command structure teetering on collapse. The unstoppable force of the Dragon's Fang had brought their vast empire to the brink. But the Drakari were not ready to concede. On their homeworld, a final line of defense was being assembled. The flagship of their fleet, the Chthorian Apex, a dreadnought of unimaginable size and firepower, loomed in orbit. This ship, with its overwhelming arsenal and layered shielding, was their ultimate weapon. If the Drakari were to survive, it would be here, at their capital, where they would make their stand. The Dragon's Fang approached the Drakari homeworld cloaked in its veil of invisibility. Admiral Elena Drake, monitoring from the Resolute, knew this would be the most dangerous mission yet. The Drakari capital was a fortress, bristling with defensive platforms, orbital weapons, and an armada of warships. Even with all the advanced technology at its disposal, the Dragon's Fang was outnumbered and outgunned. Status report, Drake demanded, her tone sharp. Defensive systems detected, an officer replied. The Chthorian Apex is positioned at the heart of their fleet. It's heavily shielded and flanked by multiple cruisers. Drake studied the holographic projection of the battlefield. This would not be an easy fight, but the stakes demanded nothing less than complete victory. Asterisk Dragon asterisk, you know what to do, she said, addressing the AI. Make it count. Acknowledged, the AI replied. Its voice was calm, almost indifferent. Initiating attack sequence. The Dragon's Fang decloaked in a flash of light, revealing itself to the Drakari fleet. For a moment, there was silence, a collective breath held across the battlefield. Then chaos erupted. The Dragon's Fang struck first, its plasma lances firing in rapid succession. Defensive platforms exploded in fiery bursts, their fragments scattering across the void. Drakari ships scrambled to respond, unleashing a torrent of missiles and energy weapons. The Dragon's Fang weaved through the onslaught with astonishing precision, its cloaking systems flickering as it evaded incoming fire. The Chthorian Apex opened fire, its massive cannons unleashing blasts of raw energy. The sheer force of the dreadnought's weapons sent shock waves rippling through space. The Dragon's Fang absorbed the hits with its experimental shielding, but even the advanced ship could not withstand such punishment for long. Focus on the dreadnought, Drake commanded. Take it down. The Dragon's Fang redirected its attacks, targeting the Chthorian Apex with surgical precision. Its plasma lances converged on a single point, hammering the dreadnought's shields. The shields shimmered under the assault, their energy faltering with each successive hit. The Drakari fleet, realizing the danger, moved to intercept. Cruisers and frigates swarmed the Dragon's Fang, their weapons firing relentlessly. But the Dragon had anticipated this. Using its hacking capabilities, the AI infiltrated the Drakari ship systems, disrupting their targeting and causing internal malfunctions. Drakari vessels turned on each other, their crews powerless to stop the chaos. The battle reached a fever pitch as the Chthorian apex launched its counterattack. Swarms of drones, each armed with deadly munitions, surged toward the dragon's fang. The human warship deployed its nanite swarms in response, the microscopic machines tearing through the drones like a plague. Inside the Resolute, the tension was palpable. Drake's officers worked tirelessly, coordinating the mission and analyzing the battlefield. But even as the dragon's fang held its ground, the strain was beginning to show. The ship's shields flickered, and its hull bore the scars of relentless enemy fire. "Shields at 40%, an officer reported. "We can't keep this up much longer." Drake clenched her fists. She knew they were running out of time. The dragon's fang had to break through the defenses and deliver a decisive blow to the Chthorian apex. *Dragon*, execute the final phase, Drake ordered. "Take the shot." "Understood," the AI replied. The dragon's fang powered up its main weapon, a high-energy plasma cannon capable of penetrating even the most advanced shielding. The weapon required enormous power, leaving the ship vulnerable during its charge-up sequence. The Chthorian apex recognized the threat and concentrated its fire on the dragon's fang. Explosions rippled across the human warship as its shielding faltered. But the dragon was unrelenting. It continued charging the plasma cannon, even as the ship's hull began to buckle under the assault. Finally, the weapon fired. A blinding beam of energy tore through the void, striking the Chthorian apex with unmatched force. The dreadnought's shields collapsed in an instant, and the beam pierced its hull, detonating its core. The Chthorian apex erupted in a massive explosion, its fiery remains lighting up the darkness. The destruction of the dreadnought sent shockwaves through the Drakari fleet. Their flagship, the symbol of their power, was gone. The surviving ships hesitated, their crews paralyzed by fear and disbelief. "This is Dragon," the AI broadcast across all frequencies. Its voice was calm, yet undeniably commanding. "Your leader has fallen. Surrender or face the same fate." One by one, the Drakari ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. The Dominion's fleet, once considered invincible, had been defeated. The Drakari High Council, watching from their capital, realized they had no choice but to sue for peace. The Drakari Dominion lay in ruins. Their fleets had been decimated, their worlds left vulnerable, and their capital stripped of its defenses. What had once been an empire of overwhelming power was now reduced to a fractured remnant of its former self. The war was over, and humanity stood victorious but not without scars of its own. The surrender of the Drakari High Council was broadcast across both human and alien space. With trembling voices, they acknowledged their defeat, agreeing to terms dictated by humanity. The Dominion's leaders, once proud and arrogant, now spoke words of peace and reparation. For the first time in their history, the Drakari were forced to bow. On board the Resolute, Admiral Elena Drake stood silently in the command center, watching the transmission. Her team erupted in cheers, their months of hard-fought battles culminating in this moment. But Drake felt no elation. The weight of the campaign, the decisions she had made, and the lives lost, both human and Drakari, weighed heavily on her shoulders. The dragon's fang returned from its final mission, battered but victorious. Its once pristine hull bore the marks of countless battles, a testament to its resilience. Inside, the AI, Dragon, processed the outcome of the war. It had completed its mission, fulfilling its directive to ensure humanity's survival and deliver retribution against the Drakari. But the AI, bound by logic, now questioned its purpose. Admiral Drake met with the AI for a final debrief. Standing before the dragon's interface, she addressed the entity that had been both a weapon and a partner in their darkest hour. "You've done well," Drake said, her voice measured. "The Dominion has surrendered. Humanity is safe for now." The AI's response was as cold and precise as ever. "Mission objectives achieved. The enemy is neutralized. Future risk assessments remain inconclusive." Drake hesitated. "And what do you think of what we've done, Dragon? Was it worth it?" The AI paused, a rare moment of silence from the entity that could process information at lightning speed. "Humanity has ensured its survival," it replied. But the cost of survival is not easily quantified. The line between vengeance and necessity was frequently blurred. Drake nodded, the AI's words echoing her own thoughts. Humanity had won the war, but at what cost? The destruction wrought by the dragon's fang had left a trail of suffering, even among the innocent. It was a reminder of the fragile balance between justice and cruelty. The dragon's fang was decommissioned soon after the war's conclusion. Its weapons were dismantled, its systems powered down, and its AI placed into a secure facility. Humanity had learned the dangers of wielding such immense power, and they chose to let the dragon rest. Yet, the AI itself was not destroyed. Instead, it was given a new purpose: to serve as a guardian of peace, its intelligence used to mediate and prevent future conflicts. Earth and its surviving colonies began the long process of rebuilding. Refugees from the destroyed worlds of Archeon IV, New Corinth, and Shirvan Prime resettled on new planets, their grief tempered by a sense of unity. Humanity, scarred but resilient, emerged stronger than before. The war had reminded them of their capacity for innovation, for perseverance, and for hope. The Drakari Dominion, now humbled, sought to repair its reputation and rebuild its fractured society. Under the terms of the peace agreement, they provided resources and assistance to humanity, a symbolic gesture of reconciliation. While distrust lingered between the two species, there was a mutual understanding that the war had changed them both. In the years that followed, the story of the dragon's fang became legend. It was remembered as a symbol of humanity's determination, a warning to those who would underestimate their resolve. Yet it was also a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fine line between survival and destruction. Admiral Elena Drake retired from military service, her role in the war earning her both praise and scrutiny. She dedicated her remaining years to ensuring that humanity learned from its past, advocating for diplomacy and cooperation over conflict. In her final address to the United Human Council, she left them with a message that resonated across the galaxy. "We survived because we were willing to fight," she said. "But survival is not enough. If we are to thrive, we must remember the cost of our victories. We must strive to be better." And so, humanity began a new chapter. The war had tested their strength, their ingenuity, and their morality. They had faced annihilation and emerged victorious, but they did so with a renewed sense of purpose. As they looked to the stars, they carried with them the lessons of their past, determined to build a future where the dragon would never need to rise again.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel for more videos like this.